Some would call it delulu. I would call it a bit ambitious. Hello and welcome. My name is Bex. I'm the hands behind Daisy and Dime, and today I am going to be yapping your ear off. We are not yet in 2025. However, 2025 is already shaping up to be a pretty busy year for me. Normally when it comes to planning crochet projects, I usually plan like a quarter at a time, but for 2025, I kind of have to look way into the big picture of the entire year. I'm in the middle of a very big project right now. And that's going to be taking up a lot of time. So the first half of 2025 is going to be incredibly busy for me. That's not stopping me from wanting to have my own personal projects or get some patterns out that I've had in the works for a while. Really quickly before we get into talking about everything that I would like to make and do in 2025, I just want to talk a little bit about my outfit. This is a me-made sweater. I knit it in 2023. I believe. A little more on that in a sec. I have my notebook over here with all of my notes because I know if I go off script, I'm gonna forget everything. I have divided my 2025 plans into two categories. So I have pre-existing ones, which are patterns that I would like to come out with. And then I have category 2, which I am going to lovingly call the delulu category. First up on my project plans of 2025 is my Lupine Skirt. I have a little pattern collection that I call Daisy's Wildflowers. Part of that collection was my Lupine Skirt, and I created this in 2023. It was supposed to just be like a one-off design, just sort of like a little bit of an experiment, but I had so many requests to turn it into a pattern. So Lupine is a fit and flare type skirt. It's actually more fitted than it is flared. It's pretty fitted, like pencil skirt fit, pretty much until about just above the knees, and then it flares out into sort of a bit of a mermaid silhouette. So because it's so fitted at the waist and the hips, and then also a little bit throughout the thighs, it's really, really important to get the shaping right. And right before I was about to put out a tester call for it earlier this summer, I realized that there was a really big discrepancy in my calculations. I was like, there's no way that I can send this to testers because I don't want to waste anybody's time. I want to make sure that everything is perfect from the get-go so that my testers have an easy time with this project and nobody's pulling their hair out because of me. Long story short, I put it on the back burner for a long time to kind of just clear my head and reset, but I think I have figured out a more simplified version. We Crochet was very, very kind and offered to send me some yarn to work up some of these new samples for the design of my Lupine skirt, which is fantastic because I actually have two different closure methods that I would like to try out and include in the pattern. First one obviously is the zip up in the back. The second version that I would like to try is doing buttons as closure. Basically, I just really want to make sure that people don't feel psyched out when trying this pattern. I know zippers can be very, very intimidating for a lot of people, and honestly, I found this when I was making my samples. It is so hard to find zippers that match, like exactly match or like a close enough match to your yarn color. So in the name of accessibility, if I can design this pattern to have an alternate closure method that you don't need to rely on finding a perfectly matching zipper for, I would like to explore that option. Next up on my upcoming patterns for 2025 list is my Aster Dress. This is also another Daisy's Wildflower design. This is a dress that I started back in March of this year. If you follow me on Instagram and you've been keeping up with the chronicle that this project has been, you will know how much I despise the yarn that I chose to create this first initial dress with. I'm using the Salt and Solid yarn right now, which I thought I was gonna like. I'm not gonna get too into my gripes with this yarn, but just long story short, it's very tedious to work with. This dress already was going to be a tedious project to begin with because so much of the skirt is just the closed shell stitch over and over and over and over and over again, but adding a finicky yarn on top of it was just Oh my god, it made me want to rip my eyes out. Aster is a 60s/70s inspired halter dress. It's got an empire waist, big super gathered skirt that's very voluminous. There will be, I don't have it right now, on my current sample, but it'll have like a nice big tiered ruffle at the bottom, and it has pockets, which is so cool. This was my very first time incorporating pockets, like slit style pockets, into a design. I really wanted this original sample to be maxi length. I had the vision for it and I had enough yarn for it. But just with how finicky this yarn is and with how difficult it is to work with, I don't think I have it in me. Both samples that I'm going to be making for this pattern are going to be mini length, which I think will still be quite cute. I was just hoping that I could have a maxi length dress. I'm going to be using Lindy Chain, which is a yarn that I know I absolutely adore. I know that it's very sturdy, it's super strong, but it's also nice and soft. There's lots of beautiful drape to it. I think that is going to lend itself very nicely to this very billowy design. Next on my upcoming patterns list is a v-neck sweater. I love the look of v-neck sweaters, and I realized that I only had one in my wardrobe and then I accidentally stained it. I've been wanting to design a v-neck sweater for quite some time. I think what I'm going to end up calling this sweater design is the Mesial sweater. A little throwback to my dental tech roots. Mesial means towards the midline, and because this sweater is worked starting from the sleeve towards the center of the body, I figured it was quite fitting. Is it kind of nerdy? Maybe. I don't know. I do kind of like the ring of it though. Like, I don't know. It just sounds nice. The big reason why I wanted to make a v-neck sweater though is I wanted to try my hand at making a mitered collar. The stitch combination that I'm using for this is a mix between back loop only linked double crochets and what are they called again? The back loop only half double slip stitch, or the yarn over slip stitch. It's the one that looks like a knit stitch. Anyway, I'm using a combination of both of those to create this like very beautiful textured fabric that's like not too textured, but there's still like a nice visual interest going on. And it's actually surprisingly quite dense, but also drapey. I think that's because of the linked double crochets. They are so awesome. I find when it comes to coming up with ideas for new patterns and new designs, I'm usually looking at what I'm missing in my wardrobe, and a v-neck sweater is like sorely missing. It's literally one of my favorite silhouettes ever, and I would very much like to have one in my wardrobe now. Next up on my list for upcoming crochet patterns is my Yoho Beanie. I wasn't even planning on creating a hat pattern. I don't usually make accessory patterns, but it just kind of ended up happening. I have made 2 of these hats already, and I'm working on a 3rd sample, which is actually what I'm going to be using for the step-by-step photos. And I was actually very surprised when I posted this on Instagram how many people were interested in a pattern. You can make it more fitted, so it's like a fisherman style beanie, or you can make it more slouchy. I personally like my hats to fit somewhere in between fitted and slouchy, like a good like middle ground. So it's nice that it's an adjustable pattern for that. So that's coming out in 2025 for sure. Coming out probably pretty soon. Keep an eye out for it. Another pattern of mine that is set to come out for 2025 is my Impressions Shrug. I think that's the name I'm gonna go with. We'll see if I end up changing it. My Impressions Shrug is a sister design to my Impact dress. Basically, I wanted to create a matching layering piece to go with Impact, so you can wear it like a coordinating set. I just feel like it would be so cute. When I was designing this, I kind of had the idea to make a cardigan instead, like a little cropped cardigan, but I've never really made a shrug before, and I don't know, some people might say that they're sort of useless pieces because it's a sweater without a body, effectively. But I don't think all fashion has to be super functional. This shrug is going to be made raglan style, so that means that there will be increases for the sleeves and they are attached directly to the neckline. And speaking of the neckline, it'll be either turtleneck or mock neck, whichever one you decide. I guess you could technically make it without either, like you could do it kind of more of like a boat neck style, but I think the turtleneck really kind of meshes everything together. So because it's made raglan style, it'll sort of have a triangular opening on the bodice. So that means that you get to show off the neckline. This shrug would look really nice. Like if you don't pair it with impact and if you just wanted to wear it with like a tank top underneath and some high-waisted jeans or like whatever bottoms. I don't know, I kind of like that shrugs are having a moment. I feel like they are one of the less egregious Y2K trends that are happening right now. I do have one other accessory pattern that I would like to get done for 2025. It's also sort of in the works right now. That would be for a bandana. If you've watched my Whistling in the Dark socks vlog, you will have seen me wearing it. I was kind of sneak peeking it in there. I wore the absolute hell out of this bandana over the spring and summer. It was literally like my go-to anytime I was having a bad hair day, which is very often, let's be honest. I have not seen it since we've moved house. So I don't know, like, I don't know where it went and I'm really upset about it. Luckily, I got some very special yarn from my friend Monique from Speckled by Purls. This was a bit of a Christmas present to myself. I ordered some of her yarn in the brown sugar colorway. And it's absolutely stunning, and I think all of those little speckles are gonna look beautiful with the Enterlac crochet method. So I'm very excited to get started on getting that pattern out as well. It works up super quickly. Like I made that original sample like literally in an afternoon. You just get into like such a rhythm with it and you can make it as big or as small as you like. And again, you can use pretty much any yarn that you want. All right, we are starting to head into Delulu territory, but we're not quite there just yet. My next pattern that I would really like to release this year, but we are so far from being anywhere close to a release date, is my formal gown slash potential wedding dress. If you didn't know, I made my wedding dress back in 2022 when I got married. It was the funnest but also most stressful project in my entire life. I knew from the get-go I did not want to create a crochet pattern for my exact wedding dress. That being said, I had so many ideas that I wanted to incorporate into my wedding dress. Like I had pages and pages upon sketches, and obviously I couldn't incorporate all of them. So I had the idea to create a design using some of the unused ideas that I had. I cast on wedding dress 2.0 or formal gown 2.0 in February of 2024. It was going so well, and then I ended up abandoning it because I completely forgot to do the waist shaping on like one entire side of the dress. And I was so mad at myself that I put it into a little ball of shame and hid it in a corner of my room where I promptly forgot about it. Actually put in my notes, I don't even know if you can see this, I put in my notes a little angry face where it says that I forgot to put all of my increases. There's so much potential for this design though. Basically what I have in mind is a slinky bodycon type of dress with a v-neck and then a like complete total backless back. It'll also have either one or two slits on the side. I think I'll just go with one slit for the sample whenever I get to working on it. I think you could make it slightly more casual or like cocktail attire if you made it into a mini dress. Or I was playing around with the idea of adding a train to the design to make it like fully bridal. But that would have to be like a whole other sample that I would need to make because I definitely do not have enough of the yarn that I was using for this original sample in order to add a train. Speaking of the yarn, I was using Knitting for Olive Pure Silk in, was it Dusty Artichoke? I can't remember the name, but I will have it on screen. It's just this very beautiful dusty sage green. Not usually a color that I would wear for myself, but just it really caught my eye. If I do end up making a wedding dress, I have mountains of Lindy chain left over. From when I made my wedding dress. I bought so much of it because I had no idea what I wanted to include. So I've got so much left over that I think I'll be able to make a wedding dress version that has a train if I get to that. This is still so early in development though. Like I'll be completely honest, I don't know if I will be able to get this done this year, just because of all of the projects with taking up half of 2025 for me, so we will see. Okay, so now we are officially into what I'm gonna call the Delulu territory, which is basically like, I know I do not have time for these patterns, but just like, if I could physically bend the laws of like space and time as we know it, then I would, you know, be able to make these ideas. A girl can dream. Up first is this idea that I've had floating in my head for quite some time now, and I'm gonna call them my Kootenay Pants. Name credits go out to my friend Chelsea, who suggested the name Kootenay as her and I were discussing this idea. Basically, these would be a matching pair of pants to my Jasper pullover. Ever since I've made Jasper, I'm like, this would be perfect as a lounge set. I had it in my head that these pants would be like drop crotch, super baggy, wide leg, you know, just very relaxed oversized fit with a drawstring waist. Maybe I would add pockets to it, don't know just yet. The extra Delulu award goes to this particular idea because the existing Jasper samples that I do have are either made with yarn that's way too thick to make out of like a pair of pants out of, or they are made from discontinued yarns, and I'm not about to go on a hunt to try to find this exact dye lot of this exact yarn. Because it's just not gonna happen. So if I make a pair of pants, I have to make a matching Jasper pullover as well, so that's even more work that would go into it. And again, like, I just don't know if I had time, but we will see. I'd want to make these pants out of something that's really lightweight and breathable, but also nice and cozy. I was thinking Fiberco's amble yarn. I actually used it to make these socks here. These were my very first rendition of my Whistling in the Dark socks. So soft, so cozy. I would love to have an entire Jasper set made out of them, but that's money. Next up on my inspiration plans would be a pair of Buttercup inspired shorts. Long story short, back in 2019, when I was still like a clothing apparel company rather than just crochet patterns, I designed Buttercup basically as like the top to a lounge set that never actually came to be because A, I ended up going back to school and I just didn't have time. And B, I could not get the shorts to fit the way that I wanted them to, and so I kind of just abandoned that idea, but they have lived rent-free in my head ever since. I just think a pair of like flouncy, relaxed fit, micro shorts, or like kind of like that boxer style, I just think it would be so beautiful, and also like a full circle moment because Buttercup is what kind of opened the doors to full-time crocheting for me. I think Hobie, however you pronounce it. I've been calling it Hobie this entire time since I've been shopping with them since 2019. But I noticed some people call them Hobby, so whichever is the correct way, please let me know below. Anyway, their Friends cotton silk yarn I think would be absolutely phenomenal for a pair of shorts. Next up is my green Inferno sweater. That's what I'm going to be calling it. I have this New Sky yarn in my stash and it's like bright green. I didn't expect it to be like so saturated of a green color. When I bought it online, I thought it was going to be a little bit more dusty, kind of like lemon lime colored, but instead it is very much bright lime green, and I'm kind of okay with that. I really love the way that it looks. It would be fantastic at combating my seasonal depression, seasonal slump. Over the past few years, I've noticed that it's not the cold of winter that particularly gets me, it's the grayness and just like the slushiness and grossness and just lack of general color in life that actually like eats away at my sanity. So I feel like making a very bright sweater and something that's just really out there would, I don't know, cheer me up a little bit, would be a good project to work on. I also want to incorporate some kind of floral element to it. So either making like appliques that I would stitch on or some kind of textured embroidery. Back in 2020, I made this snowflake top where the motifs of the snowflake were actually worked directly into the fabric, and that was a really fun technique. And I would absolutely love to bring that back in another design. And I feel like if I'm already going out there with such a bold color, maybe I go out there with a bold stitch choice, like such as these 3D motifs. I don't know, I'm thinking out loud on this one. Finally, these are my miscellaneous project ideas, crafty ideas, whatever you want to call them. So first and foremost, I have some experimental accessories that I would really like to try my hand at this year. These have been on my to make list for so long. So first up would be a pair of crochet sandals. I've seen people get sandal soles online and then they make like a lace or like some kind of crochet stitch border for the toe and the heel, and I don't know, I just feel like that's really out there and really different to what I usually make. I feel like that'd be a lot of fun. Our second honorable mention is a purse or some kind of handbag, something that's like really structured. Last but not least, I want 2025 to have more yarn spinning for me. I miss spinning so much. I had kind of a bit of a spinning kick earlier in the year, but because it is such a time-consuming hobby, I've kind of had to put it on the back burner, unfortunately, but I'd really like to make some more time for it this year. I would also really like to invest in an e-spinner. I love my drop spindle. I have so much fun spinning on a drop spindle, but just it is so time consuming. That's a lot, but maybe it's not a bad thing to be forced to slow down. And so this concludes my 2025 crochet crafty goals, crafty ideas, whatever you want to call it, my wish list maybe. Again, because 2025 is shaping up to be so busy because of this project, we will see how much of these I'm actually going to be able to get done. The nice thing is there is a handful of these designs, like I said, that are already kind of half in the works, which basically kind of holds me a little more accountable for actually finishing them. Thank you so much for tuning in to watch this video. I would love to hear what your 2025 plans are. Do you think you're going to be making a lot? Are you going to be dialing it back? What are some must-try projects for you? Are you going to be trying any new projects? I would absolutely love to know. If you enjoyed watching this video, please make sure to leave a like, and if any of my crochet ideas or plans for 2025 sound interesting to you, please let me know which ones below you would like to see. Maybe I'll do some project vlogs on some of these ideas. If you are curious what this secret project that I've been bleeping out for the duration of this video is, make sure you check out my broadcast channel over on Instagram. Stay on top of not only my secret projects, but also my 2025 queue of projects. That is the place to go. And if you want to see more content from me, consider subscribing. It really helps out. I wish you a cozy, happy, and safe end to 2024, and may 2025 be a year of creativity and productivity and happiness and balance for all of us. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will catch you in the next video. Take care. Bye!